and we are not allowing people to deem others undesirable. That's the issue here. My biggest issue here is whose job is to say that somebody's undesirable. Thank you, big brother. Thank you. Jordan Neely, we need charges brought because he was murdered because he was deemed undesirable. At what point are people deemed undesirable, and whose job is it to say it? Who's the person that says, yeah, they're undesirable? They could go. This is the purge. They could go. Oh, they got mental health issues? Kill them. They homeless and they asking for food or some money? Choke them out. We are literally asking, whose job is it to deem someone undesirable? And how in the world a young brother got choked out on Monday because he was hungry and demanding food, or he was going to go to jail and kill himself? So another human said, okay, I'll kill you, I'll take it for you. How in the world do we allow a situation to get to the point where another lynching?
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey. Yeah, we're all avatars.
So as you guys can tell by the title, the person who murdered Jordan Neely, Daniel, surrendered. And we're just here just to talk about a few updates and just, me and Tori were talking on Station Head, and me and Rocky was talking personal just about everything going on. So before we start, hello everyone. This is my first time doing a live with iPad. Hi. Hey,
Hi.
So, ladies, while I'm trying to get back on the camera, just share some of your thoughts about the case in general. This is the first time Tori's speaking about it publicly. So the floor is yours.
Well, this has bothered me for at least now a couple of days to about a couple of weeks. Hearing about this, what happened to someone that I've known, or one of our own, in the Michael Jackson community. It's also quite disturbing to just know that this could be something that happens to an individual, a civilian, and nothing's done. Like there's no justice being served. So I'm just disturbed by the whole thing.
And Tori, how about you?
So, Rocky, you were the first person that I saw talk about the situation. I was just like, oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, go right ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and then I was on Twitter and I started seeing more, and then I was like, oh, this is the person that Rocky was talking about. So, I accidentally, going to the hashtag to look up more information and get more details on what happened. I accidentally saw the video, but I scrolled. I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah, same. I couldn't watch the video, believe it or not. I've seen stills of it, pictures of it, but I wouldn't look at it entirely. It would disturb me. So,
Right.
and knowing that this was someone that you danced beside years ago, I couldn't bear to witness that. So,
Wow. That's, oh man, that's just messed up.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
And then
It's alarming. I don't know who was the first moonwalker or tourist to realize. I know who that is, but that person changed the narrative, and I thank them because once one person did it, everyone else was throwing all their Jordan videos up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost strange that before this incident happened, I was thinking about him. I was wondering, where's Jordan? He just popped in my head, and and then this is what comes out, and I said, wow, okay.
wow.
Same.
Yeah.
I like 2 weeks before he died, I was like, I wonder if Jordan survived the pandemic. And what people don't know about New York culture, it is common for people to leave New York. So you're just thinking, okay, I haven't seen him at all. We've been on the subway for 3 years since, the pandemic started. I've never seen Jordan. I never heard anything about Jordan. So I'm like, well, maybe he
Mhm.
left New York. But of course, you wonder whatever happened to Jordan. And
Right,
to see him dead,
right, yeah. And it's a shame because you don't if you were around the time of Michael, MJ when he passed in 2009, it was it was sort of like a golden era of celebrations in New York City. All over the city, everyone celebrated Michael Jackson, and he was one of the impersonators on the street that everyone knows, and he was great at dancing. He was great at what he did, you know. And then he was one of many others that we befriended over the years that danced Michael's moves and everything like that. So to go from that sort of golden era to this dark period in time, this is it's a departure from something. You know what I mean? So it breaks my heart that now that's over, and now
Uh-huh.
we're in a dark place. You know.
Yeah.
So I would right now I want nothing but justice for Jordan. I want justice for Jordan. That
Right.
man, he should definitely stand trial. I don't care what they say. You know what I mean?
And reform.
Yeah, and there we go. Yes, exactly. Reform. Yes.
Reform
Yeah.
something.
Hmm. And I'm
like, I know a lot of people may not agree for what I'm about to say, but I legitly feel sorry for the Marine too. Um, Even though he's from New York, we found out he's from Long Island, correct?
yeah. You told me. Yeah.
He's
Oh
still not
wow.
considered a city child. He's considered like Long
Like.
Island would be comparable to the suburbs, the county. In other
Hmm.
words, he's not quote unquote a city kid.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, clearly he overreacted.
Hmm.
Probably thought he was saving everybody, not realizing, dude, that's normal New York City behavior.
Right.
And it is scary, yes, but we don't touch the homeless
Hmm.
when they aggressively ask for money.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and again, I'm not justifying his actions, but you as humans, we have to see all sides of the story. No matter how you cut this cake of tragedy, it's just a tragedy all around. It's a tragedy for the people who witnessed the murder. It's a
Right.
tragedy for the Marine who made a bad call. It's a tragedy for the other two people involved. It's a tragedy, of course, for most important to Justin Neely's family. It's a tragedy to the Michael Jackson. It's just so many tragedies, and it's all because of a bad judgment call.
Right.
Right. I the way I'm gonna look at it, I come from Long Island as well, so I'm not necessarily raised as a city kid either. So when I, made steps out from the suburbs to the city, it is something of a culture shock, and you do get scared. But the instinct, you adapt to it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So for his action, seems a little bit too much for what he was saying. So my only concern is I kind of just I see your point most definitely, but I do think him standing trial, and I want to see him on the stand and explain himself completely with his hand on the Bible, giving us how raw, that moment was for him to see what's going on in his mind.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to. That's all I
I
want.
Right.
I, I
Due
want to know
process,
about
basically.
like I want to know everything about the Marine. It was like
Hmm.
probably the worst judgment call I've ever seen in the history of New York.
Oh yeah. Oh
It
my
was
God. Yeah.
it was unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
Like, why
Yeah.
did you have to do all that?
15 minutes. I think for me, when I saw how long he was choking, I didn't see the video, but they were telling me like from the articles I read how long it was,
Yeah.
and I said, "What the heck, dude?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?"
From hearing the articles to seeing his actual face and the expression on his face, and we're talking about Daniel, it bothers me. I wanted to, I don't know. So today, there's an announcement that he's surrendered. What does that actually mean now? Like, what's the next step?
Well, somebody wrote something very. probably realistic, but let's put it up.
Hmm.
99 rights. We all got to be honest. Even if Daniels was arrested, he might be on probation or a short-term amount of years. I agree.
Okay.
We don't, from what we could tell from the narrative, from everything,
Okay.
everyone's so focused on Jordan's. All right, let's address the elephant in the room.
Hmm.
Actually, we'll definitely move. Actually, I'll address it now.
Okay.
A lot of people, at least some of the people that spoke to me on YouTube or mainly YouTube, was focusing on that he was quote unquote a criminal and he had 44 charges.
Right.
Of the 44 charges, 42 I believe were misdemeanors, and I think two were assaults, including on an elderly lady. So we're just going to just address this out in the room.
Hmm.
I don't even know if New York has a death penalty, but if we did, you still don't get the death penalty for assaulting a woman.
Exactly.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
and most important, as civilians or even cops, you are still not allowed to kill anybody until you face trial. Again, I'm not even sure if New York has a death penalty, but it was just like such an extreme thing. And I'm like, if you're familiar with homeless culture, sometimes the homeless will randomly attack regular people so they
Hmm.
could get arrested, so they could get shelter, so they could get food. I'm not
Right.
justifying anybody assaulting anybody to get shelter or food. Let's make that very clear. What I'm saying is the system is broken, and Jordan Neely should have been able to go to a shelter and get
Yeah.
food without having to assault anybody
Absolutely.
or scare anybody on the subway.
Absolutely.
Right.
I agree. Yep.
Because it's so, everyone's blaming his family, blaming his friends, blaming the MJ community, blaming Jordan, but no one's blaming the actual person who murdered Jordan.
As well as the system.
Exactly.
Yeah. As well as the system. This only gives more precedence on the lack of what needs to be done in our city, in our state, in our country. I'm so sorry to say that, and we all have this problem happening. The rise, the cost of rent. You know what I mean? This number and like high numbers of homelessness everywhere around the country. We're not even looking at our own homeland. So this is barbaric. What's happening out here?
Well, remember in the beginning of the year, I kept telling everybody, level up, something's coming. And it's
Hmm.
still
Hmm.
coming. We're still waiting for a recession that may hit. And so I'm like, if you guys start positioning yourself now for whatever you want to do, your businesses, whatever,
Right.
social media, whatever, you might be ready for the storm that's coming. The way the world is changing is certain jobs will be obsolete. AI is taking over. I didn't even see
Yeah.
AI coming, to be honest. I
Yeah, that
didn't
was
see that
quick,
coming.
wasn't it? That was weird. Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
problem is a lot of us middle class, lower class people could easily become homeless and easily displaced because we are not adapting to the world that is forming in front of us.
Right.
So that's why I was like, please do not judge Jordan
Hmm.
because any of us could be homeless tomorrow morning.
Right.
And you don't know what you're going to do to try to get food or shelter, especially if you live in a cold city. Literally, New York is cold. We
Yeah.
just started getting hot maybe 2 days ago. It was freezing this whole time.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
it's just like this is survival. And again, I'm not justifying any homeless person to attack anybody just so they could get food and shelter. But for
Right.
those that are familiar with New York culture, unfortunately, that's something that happens. I see
Hmm.
people getting attacked all the time for no reason. And I know exactly why they're doing it, and it sucks.
So they said that the Daniel guy, I think with whatever the
Hmm.
second degree manslaughter charge, I think he will only get up to 15 years. Yeah, that's what Allison was saying.
Oh, is that what she said?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. So is that just did that come out today?
I think it did. I saw somebody like retweet it or something, but I will have to go back and find it.
Can yeah, I want to see if there's any articles on that because for me, standing trial and due process, that's all that matters. That's justice for him. That's what I would like to see here. Let
Yeah.
me see. Is there an article? Let me check that out.
My
Um,
biggest fear was that
okay.
because Jordan had quote unquote a criminal record, and because Jordan was homeless and because Jordan was black, my biggest fear was that he wouldn't get justice at all. The homeless people population are the most invisible population, hands down.
Right.
You throw in race, that's another strike. You
Mm-hmm.
throw in someone with a previous record, that's another strike. Instead of just looking at the facts. Hi, when Jordan was asking for money aggressively, what in that time frame justified him being murdered?
Uh-huh.
What did he do that day? Let's just look at the cold facts. And we all know it was nothing. It was just cold blood murder.
Okay, so
Right.
according to an article by one of them, they said that he was released on bail after being charged with manslaughter. 3 hours ago, that's what they said.
How much was his bail? Now that's my question. Because
Um,
they love throwing on
oh,
million
100,000.
dollar. What was it?
100,000. 100,000.
Oh,
That is a
He,
lot of money.
yeah.
yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
because if he was convicted of manslaughter in the second degree, he could have faced about 15 years in prison. So he didn't. They say he didn't enter a plea and was released on 100,000 bond.
Wow.
Oh, he
Hmm.
didn't. So he's not saying that he's guilty or not guilty.
Well, right now, so what they're saying is he's required to surrender his passport and he can't leave New York State without approval. His next court date was scheduled for July. So there's a court date for July.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm. This
They
is.
should have never released him. How about that? Remember, I'll never forget it. The day I found out was, I believe, on May 2nd. Jordan was murdered May 1st.
Right.
My coworker was telling me the story of the aggressive homeless man. That's what my coworker said. He didn't even
Mm,
say his name.
yeah.
And he said, "Oh yeah, a Marine choked a homeless aggressive man." And so I said, "And the Marine got out already?"
Right. Yeah.
I didn't even know it was Jordan yet.
Right. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
The
And
minute
it.
I found out about Jordan was the minute y'all saw that live. That was on May 3rd, I believe. I found out.
Right. It's scary too how people can say it so casually when that's someone's son, that's someone's brother. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what my wish is that this creates a sort of change, like you say,
Uh-huh.
reform, some change in our city or change in our country overall because this is ridiculous.
You know what gets me is that people who are, let's say, people who
Hmm.
are physically disabled, you
Hmm.
know, um, they have to have like accommodations to maybe get around or just go through daily life, but
Hmm.
it's like nobody takes it seriously when it's mental because they can't see it.
Right, I
And
know
I'm
it,
like,
and it's just the disregard of human life overall. This
This
is
is
right,
very telling,
so
very
well
telling.
said. The essential dehumanizing him by saying that he was an aggressive homie man, and that's what angered me because
Hmm.
I said, "Am I Jordan's friend? Absolutely not." But did I
Hmm.
encounter his presence? Yes, and it's
Yes,
not
nothing
what
like
you're
that.
saying. It was almost like saying because he was aggressive and homeless, he's not even worthy to be humanized.
Right.
So I was just like, they got the wrong homeless person. I'm like, once people realized who it was, everybody was like, "Oh no, Jordan!" And we're
Yeah.
talking about non-Michael Jackson fans.
Hmm. Yep.
It's a tragedy. And then when you found out his mom was murdered,
Hmm.
um, he was in a
wow.
foster system. Like the more you find out about Jordan, the more you realize the system failed him in ways that you can't even put in words.
Right.
And then
Hmm.
his foster brother spoke up and said when he used to perform, he used to take his subway money and help his foster brother.
See, but they won't put that out there.
Yeah. Exactly.
I learned
Like,
that from the protest.
I don't
Right.
understand why people just. It's like, why can't we just handle this the way it needs to be handled? Why do you guys always got to feel like you got to point a finger at every which way other than the person who did it? Like,
That's what
why
I
are y'all
said.
fighting?
I mentioned that earlier. I said we tend to have a culture where we blame the victim than the perpetrator. We never seem to do that. It's strange.
Mm-hmm.
you know.
I'm just going to make this clear because a lot of people don't know this. My family is white, and I have a lot of white friends, so I definitely don't want to make this a race thing, especially with my family background. But in the case of this is racially driven, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I don't want to make this a black and white issue, but it is a black and white issue. Because I'm like, if this was like when we had the opening clip from the protest, that was actually extra footage, but from the whole post, the one that I posted for YouTube, the guy made a good point. If this was a naked cowboy who's very popular like Jordan it was,
Hmm.
and a black man had killed the naked cowboy who was white, I promise you,
Hmm.
that person's not getting out of jail no time soon. The
Yeah.
bill probably would have been 1 million instead of 100,000. Like
Right.
in
Right.
other words, it wouldn't be so easy just to get out.
Right.
You cannot. And the naked cowboy can clearly fall on hard times too, turn to drugs, and make bad decisions, just like Jordan did, correct?
Right.
It
Yeah.
still doesn't give us the right to deem who is undesirable. That was the opening clip. Who
Mhm.
are we to deem who is undesirable?
Right.
And if you don't find someone desirable, that you still can't kill them.
Right.
Yeah. Hmm.
If you have an issue with a particular group of people, whether it be race or class, or what's other things that divide people, probably race and class, the main two divisions,
Main.
then
Yeah.
feel free to move where you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
If you don't like black people, then you might want to go someplace in Europe. If you don't like white people, you can go back to Africa. I don't know what I mean. I don't mean to say it that way, but if you have a problem with particular people's racial backgrounds, then please feel free to move where you feel comfortable. That is your human right to move where you feel comfortable. But you do not have the right to kill people because you don't understand how they speak or their tone's not to your liking.
Right. Yeah.
I saw a little bit of footage. It's called Jordan's last words when he was. It looks like he was just mumbling something. I couldn't even make out what he was saying, and I'm just like, one day I might have the courage to see what happened that day. I'm not there yet. It triggers me. It keeps making me cry. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
ready to see it.
No, of course not. I don't want to. I don't want. I don't want to witness someone losing his life right in front of me. That's not my thing.
Yeah. When you guys have a chance, please watch the. Rocky and I went to the district attorney what was it, protest,
Yes.
and I we just put a small snippet, I think maybe 14 minutes, and even just the last part where they were saying justice for Jordan. Notice how people were just walking in and out the door ignoring us.
Of course.
Wow. Yeah, I did. I did see that.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
this is an everyday occurrence. It's as almost like breathing in America. You know what I'm saying? You see this case every day, almost every set over every decade. It's the same story over and over. People become numb to it.
99, it's not that I'm afraid to express race. You have to understand I come from a very unique background, and I'm one of those people, like, there was always just the only black girl in class, and I've had very good experiences with my white classmates and my family, and so I don't like to really talk about race. I really want to make it about a humanity thing, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just like sometimes we tend to lump things together, like, all white people act this way or all black people act that way, and that's not true. From my personal upbringing, not everyone acts the same, if that makes any sense. If you treat people on a human level and don't make it about race, even though we know Jordan probably was murdered because of his race or because of his
Mm-hmm.
class, we don't know why he was murdered. We don't know if he got murdered because he was homeless, or if he was black, or he was black and homeless. You understand?
Hmm.
But I think I get really sensitive to race because sometimes that brings out the anger in people, and I don't want that to happen. I wanted to look at it as a case of there was a human by the name of Jordan Neely who was so happily black. You understand? Because
Mm,
it's
yeah.
just like, if you make it about race, then there's a whole different division that will form. You understand? And then
Mm,
we'll lose sight to what this is really about. The kid got murdered for asking for food. Bottom line.
Yeah.
right. Right.
I think that I think that
Hmm.
addressing all the issues in here, all the disparities like race, mental health, homelessness, all of that, I think that is important to show that there is multiple issues, and it's unfortunate that it's happened, and it's unfortunate that this situation, something so drastic and sad as this, is what's really making people's eyes open to actually be like, oh yeah, we need a change. Like change should have happened a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Right. And I would have to also say that I'm sure some people don't feel any sort of remorse for the situation because it wasn't personal to them the way it was for most of us. But this could be anybody. This could be any of our family members. So this is why there needs to be change because tomorrow that could be your uncle or something on the street. Unfortunately, because of the rise of food and the rise of rent, it's the system that needs to change because this could happen to
Hmm.
any one of us. You know what I mean?
And it
So right, his death has to have a meaning, and it has to
right.
change something going on in our country.
Yeah.
I think that they really should
Hmm.
also start focusing on childhood, because that's where
Hmm.
this a lot of this stems from. Like, they said he saw what happened to his mom when he was just a young teenager. Like, that's going to
Hmm.
affect you, and your brain's not fully
Of course,
developed.
they would
Like,
need. Yeah, they would have to go for like programs set up for young youth who's been let out into the streets and stuff like that. But
hmm
wasn't wait, hold on, wasn't at one point in New York City, wasn't that a thing? Wasn't
I
that a
don't know. Remember how I kept saying my new favorite organization is the Dee Dee Jackson Foundation?
yeah.
uh-huh.
Because I lost my mom, and I'm lucky, I made it to my mid 40s to when my mom died. I'm still not the same. Like Rocky knows me personally. I'm not the same
Hmm.
person. I hide from everybody. I don't like being around people no more because my world's been changed. So I'm like, and I got to be to my mid 40s when my mom passed away. So could you imagine Jordan at 14, whose mother was murdered? Her
Hmm.
body was placed in a suitcase, and he had no help. I
Ooh.
Yeah.
cannot imagine what trauma that
Right.
boy was facing.
Right.
And then he had no siblings,
Yeah.
and then he was put into foster care.
Yeah.
Make this make sense.
Right.
I think if someone's parent was murdered, I think those children need special care. They need
Right.
special attention. They need people like a TJ Jackson or Taj Jackson who knows
Yep.
what it is to lose their mother as teenagers.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Right.
think it's a whole different pain when a child uses their parents when they're younger. It's more traumatic, to be honest.
Right.
And
And
it's
then
just like no one put that in consideration.
right. And then for all of this happening to him, and now that we recently learned that this is what happened, for his one spark of joy is to dance Michael Jackson. That's an impressive find in a dark world he must have been through. That was a beautiful moment in time. Yeah,
Did
we're
you
not.
did you see the footage though of someone taunting Jordan when he was dressed as Michael? And of course Jordan
I
got
remember
upset.
that. I remember
And
that.
I'm just like, even though that was the golden era of Michael Jackson fandom,
Yeah.
and the world was starting to love Michael Jackson again, there were some people who still did not like Michael. And
Right.
if you were MJ, tribute artist, and you came across that person, those people would be aggressive to you.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
it's just like that. As much as Jordan made things magical for New York, that came at a price when people would attack him for
Yeah. Of
being an
course.
MJ tribute artist.
Right. Right.
So it's
But
just like, wow.
I will.
since they
All right. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, you're okay. And since they always like want to throw up things from the past and stuff, they don't. I I think I've seen one video where that was talked about, where he was being, you know, people were coming at him for just dancing and celebrating Michael and stuff, but they don't put that out there like that. They just want to bring up the little misdemeanors and stuff like that. And
Right. Or show
Right.
him being aggressive, but not showing what led to that.
Right.
yeah, they
Absolutely.
cropped that video. I
Of
I do remember that.
course.
Yeah, it's always, it's always the dark, it sells, right? So if the media comes and they see something that is positive, they're gonna immediately make that negative because it sells. It's a cash grab.
Now, here's a point to the Marine or Daniel.
Hmm.
I do believe that this person might be suffering from post traumatic.
Stress disorder. Hmm.
Um, it's that, or he's mentally unstable, or there's hate in his heart. We're not going to know that until the trial.
Yeah.
We're not. I mean, like I said, surprisingly, I do feel sorry for this young man because he's young,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a really heavy thing to be dealing with. And if he is suffering from this, then that might explain why he overreacted. But that's for him and his lawyer team to prove, to be honest. It's not for me,
Yeah.
for even me to speak on. I don't even know that man. But I still have the compassion to have, um, I just hurt for everyone in this situation on every level.
You know what? What I just realized?
Hmm.
The way all of Jordan's information is just thrown out here to the public to pick apart, but we didn't even know the killer's name until, was
That's
it
what I'm
days
saying.
after?
Yeah, I've been said that. Yeah, until days later, to be honest
And
with
we
you.
only got his name because someone recognized him and said, "Oh, I know who that is." That wasn't the media or the cops. I found out someone else did that. Someone else
Wow.
outed him. I don't know if that's fact, but that's what we were told.
And also, do we know the names of the other assailants
From
that helped?
for now, no, I don't know them.
Because
Mm,
why did it take so many people to hold him down? Like that.
right,
That's
no weapon.
no.
Right. So forgive me if I say I don't. I feel more for Jordan more than anything else at this
Of
moment.
course, I feel
Right.
way more for Jordan, but I think I legitimately feel sorry for everybody involved
Mm,
because it's like I think, I guess, of course, I see it as a New York City passenger.
uh,
I personally would have never reacted like this. I would have just got off the train like a normal New Yorker.
right, right, right.
But I was just like when you be like, I can see how this went left, and it's just like I know y'all were just like, what the hell just happened? Like on all
Mm,
levels.
yeah.
It's like everyone involved probably thought they were saving the train. Then you got poor Jordan trying to get air. It was just a hot mess of. It's just the worst story I've ever heard in my life.
Right, right.
And of course, yes, I feel for Jordan more than anything, but I can't help but to wonder what led to this. And
Uh-huh.
why did
Yeah.
it lead to this? And what was going on to the everyone's head? Why did you think it was okay to hold him down like
I
that?
feel like there's more. I don't know why, but I feel like for a situation that was on that. Wait, do we know what time of the day that happened at?
Mm, no, let me see if I can look that up.
Because I want to know if there were more people on that car and if it was more than one camera, because I need to see a different perspective from that one camera.
I think
Because,
someone said that all subway cars have cameras and they access that already.
oh, they already did.
So I'm like, most of that stuff we won't know to the trial.
Oh, I
Oh,
see.
and Justice said
Right.
2:30 p.m.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
thank you.
that was midday. That was midday. So there's a lot of people on midday train. There's a lot
Hmm.
of people. How can that? It's not an empty car. So there's more than one person recording that. I want to see it from their perspective, from different angles. I really do. Whether or not he
Oh,
got up with like his fist up or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
How aggressive did he come up? How aggressive did Daniel approach? I want to see those angles. I don't want to see that one angle where he's being choked to death.
And Justice puts, but even though they have been arrested and relieved, it feels so wrong that Penny is allowed to turn himself in, bail right out. Yeah, that's true. If he was black,
Yep.
he would have probably just either the bail would have been so high that he could not afford himself out, or he just would be in jail. It's the whole situation's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to something like this, we need to see it at all angles, and the once the trial begins, I think that's when we'll start seeing stuff,
Yeah.
evidence, and all that thing. But for
Like for
now,
those
yeah.
who are not aware of the Black Lives Matter movement, I have my own personal opinions, but I'll just kind of keep it relevant to this.
Hmm.
The main thing about Black Lives Matter movement is Black lives, at least in America, are not equal. And our lives don't matter. And our voices are not heard. And
Hmm.
things are not equal. That is the short version of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
when you hear the or see those hashtags Black Lives Matter, that's our way of saying that we are not being heard and things are not equal. And
Right.
it's never, as you know, in the city. I know I live in New York, and New York is quote unquote the safest place for Black people. Like it's way worse in New Jersey, which is
Mm-hmm.
the state right next to us. Way worse in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been to California once. I won't say what part it was. It was the worst experience of my life. I've never been asked so many times, so why are you here?
Yeah. What do
I
you do
have
for
a
work?
job and I can afford to be here. What do you mean by that? And of
Right.
course, I stayed calm. You know, I knew what not to do. I knew not to overreact, but I was hurt. I'm still kind of traumatized by that. That wasn't a long time ago.
Right.
So it's just like, can you imagine? You know, you're American. You know, you pay your taxes. You know, you do everything right. You obey the law. You don't bother anything. You're not roast. You know, you're not a racist or anything, and you're treated so unkind and so unequal. If this was a white person murdered by a black person, it would be a completely different outcome.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And again, I don't want to make it about race. Shout out to my family, but it's some people are scared of things they don't understand. It's
Yeah.
like sometimes you know you might not you may have never gone to school with someone who was black. You never took the time to be someone's friend. That's what I do love about the MJ community, especially in New York. We dance together, we eat together, you know, we go hard for each other, we love each other, we take care of each other. I remember when Maria died, all the moonwalkers got together and made sure we buried her.
Right.
You know, like we just take care of each other, and it doesn't matter what race you are. As long as you're a good human being, we got you. And I think that's why we have to speak on Jordan. I don't know who Jordan was after he left. I know we were looking for Jordan when he disappeared, and people were telling me when he disappeared, it was when his mom's um went to trial, like her murder went to trial. He wasn't the same.
Right.
Good night, Allison. Thank you for coming through.
Good night, Allison.
Night.
So
Good
it's
night.
just like we're so quick to blame Jordan or blame his family or blame his friends, but no one is looking at, hey, this guy was murdered, bro. That bottom line, like this is just cut and dry. He was murdered,
Right.
and we want to know why.
Right.
The biggest thing overall for me is that everybody acts like, like I'm sorry, I'm still annoyed with the way that they're picking apart his past and stuff.
Right.
Everybody acts like, of course, like what he did should not have been a death penalty, like you said. But
Right.
people just act like they're saints themselves, like they haven't, stepped out of line and out of character or something at some point in their lives, and they're so quick to condemn. And it's like,
Exactly.
hold on. What about
Hey.
y'all?
Hey, MJ fan girl.
Hey,
Hello.
girl. Hey, girl.
We definitely want to get back to that because that was something that made me go, really? Rocket, can you give us some background about Maria, who she was to the Indian community, the sisterhood, and her
Mhm.
death, and what her death did to society?
Well, Maria was basically one of us. She was an MJ fan. I first met back in 2009. And slowly but surely, she also was sort of like the mother of the sisterhood. She was the one that created all of this. She brought people together. She made sure people were good. She was almost like a mother hen to all of us. And unfortunately, in 2014, she passed away in her car with carbon monoxide poisoning, and it was said because she had two jobs and she fell asleep in her own car. So she
No,
was
no,
just
I think she had four jobs.
Oh wow.
four. Oh
It
boy.
was three to four. She had a lot of jobs. That's why everybody was like, why did she have to work so hard?
Mm. So then that caused a sort of shift in wages. So that her passing was a movement in itself to raise the minimum wage higher. So the way we are paid today is because of her story.
Oh my
And I'm
goodness.
yeah. So that
And you
was a
know
good friend,
what's
very good friend of
sad?
mine.
Even though Maria and Jordan's death is different, it still is based on economical inequalities.
Yeah. Notice, right?
You know,
Exactly.
it's like these are two moonwalkers that died. One died because they were too exhausted
Yeah.
and didn't realize they were being poisoned in their car. And another
Hmm.
one died because they were deemed undesirable because they didn't have a job and they were homeless.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, you know, we don't treat the poor or the less fortunate right. But
Right.
homeless in New York, they are the most invisible people on the planet.
Yeah.
And it's so unfair. And I understand why the homeless get upset. They like no one pays them any mind. And I'm personally overwhelmed because if you were to give everyone a dollar that you seen that was homeless, minimum you're gonna have $10 to $20 a day per day giving them money.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's so many of them. And I barely even go outside. We're just talking about me just going from the train to my job. You're going to bump into minimum 5 homeless people, just like
Right.
on the corners.
Right.
Like, you ever see the lady who has, some of you guys might be familiar, but there's a lady who has a baby and she sells candy. First couple of
Oh
times I
yeah.
gave her money, but then I ran out of money. It's like, I can't do this every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that. I've seen her. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know.
Oh
I.
yeah, she remembers that story. And we thank you. A lot of California and New York people helped buried her. I think
Yep.
we needed $5,000 to raise her. She had no real family in this country.
Right.
And you know, I just want to thank any moonwalker that made that possible. Um, you know, like I know for Jordan there's a GoFundMe for him as well. We're not sure when the public viewing is. I believe it's next Friday. As soon as I get a confirmation, I'll put it on my Instagram story, or actually, I just post it. But they
Hmm.
have a big GoFundMe for Jordan, and that's
Yeah.
already in the links.
I'm so happy that his story's gotten as far as the Philippines. All right,
Right?
Carrie,
Look
I'm
at
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
this,
love it.
right?
Hmm.
Well, what I'm noticing, and this is not exclusive to New York, we have a poverty issue globally. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Hmm.
think because the poor is considered the invisible, and it sucks. Like people who are poor or poor sometimes because of their class or race. That's not fair.
Right.
You know, I did everything they told me. I got my college degrees. I work hard. I've done 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and I'm still considered poor. And I actually make a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't make 6 figures, so I'm considered poor here.
Right.
Like, you know, this sucks. Like I did everything you told me to do. It's still not enough.
Oh, okay. I like that. I
This
wonder.
one.
Yeah, I wonder that what Michael would have thought about this. We know what he
Yeah.
was.
I think
Yeah.
it would break his heart.
Mhm.
It would break his heart the way I'm sure. Yeah, I think it would break his heart, but at the same time, just knowing that someone that represented him
Mhm.
is being fought for, and it's going globally because this has now become something where now his passing has become something of a movement because we all are aware of the homeless. We are all aware of it. So now there needs to be change. And Michael would be proud. Well, not proud of the situation, of course, but like proud to know that, you know what, God had to take, despite your beliefs, God had to take someone for something to change this large because then that means he was never that insignificant.
Yeah.
His death was not. And I'm happy about that part.
Now injustice or we in our protest they weren't singing they don't care about us, so our protest was the smallest of all the protests,
Mhm.
maybe because it was in the middle of the workday. Our protest was basically asking the DA. We were asking for their name, we were asking for why, it was a lot we were asking for. And but the one they were singing they don't care about us, I believe that was Saturday's protest. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of people got arrested that day. That was a hot mess. I was like, oh my
I was
God.
actually thinking about going. I was like, no, don't go.
Well, remember my leg got swollen from
Hmm.
Thursday's protest, so I had
Yeah.
no choice. This stuff is still hard for me to do. So
Right.
I was like, all right, cool. I'll just edit, the Thursday thing and I'll just stay home. It's a
Hmm.
good thing I did. I ain't got time to get arrested.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I ain't got no
Yep.
mom to bail me out.
Hmm.
So speaking of, what would Michael do? We're not sure what Michael do, but we know his extended family. They were
Yes.
actually doing tweets. Shout out to, this is Michael Jackson's drummer, correct? Or the Jackson's drummer, correct? Sugarfoot.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Travis Payne, thank you so much for posting. Questlove, who's a great advocate for Michael Jackson and his family,
Mhm.
and of course, a member of the Roots.
Yep.
The Jacksons themselves. This made my day
Yep.
because it was just
Yeah.
like, bro, like you guys are aware of this happening. This is awesome.
Mhm.
Um, this is some of the protests. This was Saturday. Was no joke.
Right.
Shout out to Moses Harper, who has been sticking up for her friend, sharing his story, humanizing him, being
Mhm.
very articulate and just on point.
Yeah.
You know, this is very hard on her. If you guys saw her live, you could tell like it was draining her out. She's, you
Mhm.
know, even though she's an advocate, she's also someone who's hurting.
Mm, yeah.
And of course, Invincible Jackson. Do you want to read what you wrote, sis?
Sure. Um, so I basically said what happened to Jordan Neely is an unfortunate reminder that we need to really see people with grace, compassion, understanding, and
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. That's,
Amen.
yep. That's true.
Moses was amazing. Thank you. Yes, she was. And I saw this one the other day, Spike Lee, Rest in
Oh,
Power.
Spike. I didn't see Spike. I didn't.
Oh
Oh, I didn't see
wow.
Spike do that. That's cool.
So, you know, even though Michael's not here, people that are extended to him and represent him, they posted. I didn't see that coming. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
These are these are the eyeballs that make things change too. Celebrities,
Yeah.
when you use your power for good, these things make a
Yeah.
difference. This might be the
Make a difference.
reason why the guy got arrested. You never know.
That's true. Right.
So the impact of Jordan Neely's passing and recent developments. We spoke about Daniel Penny surrendering
Mhm.
and his bail. Um, I'm going to have this in the link, but this is also making people realize that we need to address the homeless in a humane way. They
Right.
are
Mhm.
invisible. Probably, I would say hundreds of them die a year, and they don't have the luxury of someone saying, I know who that is, and their lives matter. Jordan, even though this is a tragedy, this has to be the most famous homeless story I've ever heard ever.
Mhm.
Like when someone goes, no, he's a person. And I think we need to start looking at the homeless people and say, this person is like Jordan too. What is his story? Or what
Yeah.
is her story?
Yeah.
It's not saying you're going to be able to help everybody, but lately, I start looking them in the eye just to make sure I don't recognize them. You understand?
Mhm.
You know, because sometimes they just might need you to make a phone call and say, hey, can you at least call my mom and say I need help?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, especially if you know them and recognize them, help them out. Like,
Yeah.
so there's something I wanted to bring up. I want to show you what homelessness and mental illness looks like. I wanted to pull up some famous people that we all know and love
Mhm.
that because I guess luck was on their side, they didn't become a statistic.
Right.
So let's just pull this up. And you'll be surprised. Some of these people are people that you'll spend hundreds of dollars to get an autograph from.
Right.
Kristen Bell, Christine Bell, I'm sorry. Ryan Reynolds, I can't even say it. Ryan Reynolds, the guy who
Oh, I
plays
love him.
Deadpool, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Who doesn't watch Deadpool? Mariah Carey,
Mm.
Wow.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Chrissy Teigen,
Mm.
Carrie Washington,
Mm.
very prominent people.
Right.
Dell, you know, like Lena Carson Daly, Dolly Parton. I had no idea.
Right.
She contemplated suicide and noted that
Mm.
depression runs deep in her family. Lady Gaga, no clue,
Mm.
openly admit of having battled depression and anxiety.
You're kidding me.
Megan,
She's a
right?
she's a whole duchess.
Right. Catherine Jones, Zeta Jones, Brooke Shields. Brooke Shields was noted one of the most famous models of her time. She's
Of her
still
time.
beautiful, by the way.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher, which we're learning about now. I had no idea. Chris Evans. He is this the same guy who played
Not
in
Captain
Captain
America.
America.
right?
Yeah.
Wow. So these are some of the faces, people struggling with mental illness.
That goes
Oh,
to show you it can happen to anybody.
there's one more person that's missing from the homelessness. J.K. Rowling, who is actually the author to Harry
Oh
Potter.
no, that was just for mental illness. Now for
Ah.
homeless, there's something else. Hold
Oh,
on.
okay, okay.
Let me
Oh, that was
see.
mental.
That was just for mental because remember Jordan had mental issues
Mm-hmm.
and he was homeless. But I just want to show what mentally ill or homeless people look like.
Right.
These are famous people. Carmen Electra, she used to be
Mm,
homeless. Jim Carrey, he used to be
mm.
homeless. And now imagine if someone choked them out.
Yeah.
Tiffany, we're very aware of her because
Mm-hmm.
she's very grateful for her blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvester Stallone, I had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Lopez, I had no clue because we only see the success. Chris Pratt,
What? Not Star Lord. Oh, let me stop. Oh my
right?
god.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Come on now. Eartha Kitt, all used to be homeless at one point in their life.
Wow.
Drew Carey.
Okay.
And I just want to bring this up because sometimes we can't have empathy for people because we don't see it. I'm
Right.
showing people of diverse backgrounds, races, classes, and these people were all once homeless. It can
Right.
happen to any of us. Steve
Mm-hmm.
Harvey, it could be a fight with your parents and you run away and you never come back.
Mm-hmm.
Rose,
McGowan. Yeah.
William Shatner, no clue.
Wow.
Tyler Perry, I didn't know he was homeless,
Yeah, I
but
heard
he's
of
a
his story.
multi-millionaire now.
Mm.
Oh,
Sydney Nuts. What?
yeah, yeah.
Prestigious Sydney Poitier?
hmm
Wow.
Holly Berry. I think Holly Berry went homeless because she disagreed with her mom's choices for her.
Mm.
She wanted to be a model. Her mom was like, "No, sis." Dwayne Rock. So now we know The Rock had mental struggles and he was homeless. And what
Yeah.
if no one gave him a chance or choked him out? We never would have
Right.
had The Rock.
Absolutely.
So
Mm-hmm.
these are people I just want to just bring awareness to because we're so quick to judge.
Mm, yeah.
God, I always say this like we don't thank God enough or whatever you believe enough that you woke up today or someone gave you food or someone had compassion on you.
Yep.
Like it's such a blessing to have a roof over your head and food in your tummy.
Right.
Yep.
But that really goes to show that it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody. It could happen to anybody. But people don't like to take a chance
Yeah.
and see people for what they could be anymore.
Right.
Oh, this is so. We need to have compassion for the homeless. The Jackson family heart would break hearing this story. Yeah.
Mm.
I know if you guys live in California, it's even worse, or San Francisco area, it's even worse. You
Yep.
guys are aware of it. I think for New York, I think we're so taken aback because it's getting really big here,
Big.
and
Yeah.
we're not used to it. Usually, you might see one homeless person on a corner. You'll see a homeless person on each corner now, especially if you go like Midtown. That's not normal,
Yeah.
and it's overwhelming. And the city needs to take some accountability of problem solving and prevention for those that are working poor. Make sure they really have affordable housing. For
Right.
those that are homeless but are working, make sure they get housing or hotel rooms as soon as possible. Especially if they're working. For those that are willing to work, get them training. For those that are having drug issues and want to go to rehab, get them in rehab. For those that have mental issues, get them proper help. But you
Mm-hmm.
can't keep them on the street and then they start acting erratic. And then you have this misfortune of someone making a bad judgment call and then choking someone out. This is not
Right.
acceptable
Right.
because there's going to be more stories like this. There are going to be more people getting aggressive, more people having problems, more people lashing out. And if someone attacks you, yes, you do have the right to defend yourself. I don't want people to think like, you can't be a good Samaritan or you can't defend yourself. In this case, Jordan did not attack anybody on the train.
Right.
So I'm just asking, we need to just please see Jordan through a human lens. Don't bring up his past. And if you are going to bring up his past, bring up his mother who was murdered. Bring up, how the system failed him, how he's in foster care. Bring it all up. If you're going to bring it up, bring it all up. How he took
Right.
care of his foster brother, bring it all up. If you're going to bring it up, bring it all up. And there's a lot more good about Jordan than bad.
Right.
And you know what? I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying it was right. Like, the stuff that he did end up doing in his past and him, going to jail and stuff. But let's say if he had the right resources, if people were there for him, if the system was right,
Mm.
even those would have happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those wouldn't have happened.
It's hard to say how his life would have been if he got proper help. Um, I don't mind oversharing. I always do. But I remember when my father died, I was really young. Not as young as Jordan, but I was young. Like I just out of high school, just going to college. And I remember I was super depressed and I turned into alcoholism. And at the time I was smoking marijuana. And at the time marijuana was illegal. And I remember just always being high and always numbing myself. And again, this is with me with a very religious Christian mother. Now, I wasn't in my mother's house when I was doing this, but I was just so hurt that my father died. Nobody was there for me because my mom's crying over her husband. My siblings crying over their dad. Like there was no one to help because everybody was so busy dealing with their own emotions that they forgot us. So can you imagine again going to Jordan? No support system. He's 14. His mother's death was more brutal.
And it's
And you're
not
in the streets of New York where drugs is a
right.
drug is a thing in New York.
Right.
I am so surprised I didn't do hard drugs.
Right.
I can never judge Jordan because God spared me, because my friends had an intervention with me, because I have a mother that loves me once she got wind of what I was doing. I'm here because someone said I am not going to let you fall at the waistline. But
Right.
there's nothing more sadder about losing your parents. I don't care if you're 14, 41, 60. Losing a parent is the most traumatic thing you can go through. I think only a child or a spouse can outdo that. So it's just like we don't address death properly, especially for children.
And unfortunately, for Jordan's circumstance, him being homeless, he wouldn't have been able to afford any sort of like health care or mental care facility for such a situation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Back then, there was more access to that, but nowadays, it's not only gotten too expensive, but I think there's something in Manhattan that's not. What is it? Is it the mental facilities where they all, you know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Like,
Bellevue, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It. There's no funding going into those things, so now everyone's just mentally ill, and it's sad, you know.
Turning to drugs to numb their
Yeah, to numb
feelings. I,
themselves.
I I have someone in my life that's mentally ill. They were born that way,
Mm,
and they are struggling with drugs because the drugs that they're giving him in the facility for the mental place he doesn't like. Well, we don't know what to do with this person because people were like, "Well, where was his family?" If you've
mm,
ever struggled with someone with mental illness or drug addiction, I promise you, half of y'all are going to turn your back because it's too hard.
mm-hmm.
It's very hard to deal with people with issues. I'll be the first to tell you, sometimes I throw my hands up. It's overwhelming.
Yeah,
You don't understand you don't understand where they're coming from. That's why we're asking for the help from the professionals who know how to handle this.
yeah,
Everybody, well, where is his family? Well, have you dealt with
right,
somebody with mental illness?
yeah,
It's not easy. It's very hard. The person I'm talking about tried to kill himself 3 times.
mm,
And they've been
yeah,
doing it for years. Like they hear voices in their heads, they don't know how to control it.
yeah,
And I honestly think they want to get help, but no one knows how to help them.
right, right.
and they're going through stuff now. So it's just like have compassion, because it's not a copy cut and paste kind of thing. It's not nothing's easy.
Yeah.
But the minimum they could do is just start working with the working class and the working homeless, and then
Yeah.
take it from there.
Yeah. Exactly. But um, oh gosh. Okay, so then the next court date is in July, they say.
Hmm.
Oh, there's no date. There's no official uh date at all, or
No, but I'll
because
I'll definitely follow. You know me, I'm going to be following this. I honestly want to know the whole story. I really do. I
yeah,
want to know what happened that day
yeah,
and why it happened.
midday, 2:30 p.m. Nah, that's too much. During that time, there's a lot of people in that car. No, I want to know what happened. So
Oh, Butterfly writes, I know how it feels to deal with someone with mental illness, my daughter. It's very hard. It is very, very hard.
yeah.
And I know for me, the person I'm talking about, I did everything I could. And the person was articulate enough to explain that, for example, I would take them to, like, let's say Great Adventures. And they said, I know I should be happy, but I'm not happy. And I don't know why. And that means we've been doing this for
Wow.
years. Very smart person I'm talking about, like Bill Gates kind of smart, but very, very, very sad on the inside all the time. And we don't know why. No matter what we do, no matter what we buy, whatever, I can't even put it in words. And it's
Right.
sad because for me, I'm very happy. Even when I'm sad, I'm happy, if that makes any sense. So it's like I can't relate, like, to always be sad. I don't even want to know what that feels like.
Yeah, and if
Um,
it's just something that's clinical too.
yeah, they were
Oh.
born that way. That's, like, I know death can trigger depression and mental illness. Losing your job or your stability could do that. A bad relationship breakup. There's so many reasons that could lead to mental illness, gaining weight, health
Mhm.
issues. Mental illness doesn't take much. Like, sometimes you're born with certain things, or certain I guess situations can cause you. Sometimes you check out. Sometimes it's hard to process things.
Right.
But I have compassion because I've been so many things in so many different chapters of my life, and I'm like, I get it. Like, I so get it. And I'm guilty for turning my back on people sometimes. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by it. I can't help everybody. I help as many as I can, but sometimes there are people above your level of help, if that makes any sense. And I don't know.
I'm so glad to have gone on to this live. This one's a very important one for me to
Oh
done.
no, your
You know what I
timing is
mean?
really good. It's literally at the end.
Uh,
Um, but thank you, Rocky. We appreciate you coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for those who are not aware, there's a GoFundMe. The links are on the bottom. And oh, how could we
oh.
forget this? In the week that Justin passed away, we also lost two major moonwalkers as well. If anybody has the links to Fred Mays's GoFundMe, I need that because they need funds for his 10-year-old daughter. So if anybody could just give me the link, let me know so I can put that in the description bar. But I heard, like, he was a good advocate for Michael. He was a big fan from France, and the Jacksons spoke about this. So,
Yeah.
and on the Didi Foundation, they've mentioned this week. So I wanted to highlight that. And rest in. She looks familiar, Rocky.
Hold on, let me see her. I don't
Right?
know. I
At
don't
least
know.
on social media, she looks so familiar.
Yeah.
And if anybody has any information on her passing, and if she has a GoFundMe, let me know so I can put that in the description bar. And even if it's like $5, $10, $15, it helps. I know we've had to bury several people in my life, and those GoFundMe's legitly helped us get what we needed.
Yeah.
So we are going to end on that note. Thank you guys again for all your
Thank you.
comments. I know I missed a lot. I'm sorry, I know, but thank you guys for coming. And thank you guys for coming as well.
Yeah, it was my
Thank you.
pleasure.
All right. Of course, I can't find the music. Make this make sense. All right, there we go.